A wise man speaks little, but his words have weight. A foolish man speaks often, and his words reveal his weakness. Stoicism teaches us that our words show the state of our mind. Here are 7 things a foolish man often says, and why a calm mind avoids them. A man who always says, "It's not my fault," reveals more about himself than about the situation. These words come from fear, not strength. They are spoken to protect the ego, not to protect truth. When something goes wrong, the foolish mind looks outward first. It searches for someone else to carry the weight of the mistake. This habit may bring short comfort, but it slowly weakens the character. Blame is easy because it removes effort. If the fault belongs to others, then no change is required from within. This is why many cling to blame. It allows a man to stay the same while demanding the world adjust to him. Stoic wisdom teaches the opposite. Growth begins the moment a man asks what part of this situation belongs to him, even if that part is small. Life does not care who is at fault. Events unfold according to nature, not excuses. When a man argues with this, he wastes energy that could be used to improve his condition. A calm mind understands that responsibility is not about guilt. It is about control. You may not control what happens, but you always control how you respond. This response is where power lies. The man who blames others hands his power away. Each excuse is a quiet surrender. He becomes dependent on the behavior of others for his peace of mind. When they fail, he suffers. When they succeed, he feels cheated. This creates constant unrest. The Stoic mind seeks independence from this cycle. By mastering the self, responsibility is heavy, but it builds strength. Carrying it trains the mind to face reality without distortion. When a man accepts his role in failure, he gains clarity. He sees what must be corrected. He sees what habits must change. Without this clarity, improvement is impossible. Blame also damages relationships. A man who never accepts fault cannot be trusted. Others grow cautious around him, knowing he will protect himself at their expense. Over time, this isolation deepens. The Stoic understands that harmony with others begins with honesty toward oneself. There is also pride hidden inside blame. It says, "I am above error," but no human is above error. Nature itself teaches through failure. To reject this lesson is to reject wisdom. The wise man does not fear being wrong. He fears staying wrong. Taking responsibility does not mean accepting abuse or injustice. It means separating what is yours from what is not. The Stoic does not carry the mistakes of others, but he also does not deny his own. This balance keeps the mind steady and free from resentment. When a man says, "It's not my fault," he closes the door to learning. When he says, "What can I do better?" he opens it. One path leads to stagnation, the other to progress. The choice is repeated daily in small moments, often unnoticed. The world respects the man who owns his actions. Even when outcomes are poor, his character remains intact. He stands firm because he is not built on excuses. He understands that strength is not proven by being perfect, but by being accountable. A Stoic life is built on this quiet discipline. No loud defense, no constant explanation, just steady correction and forward movement. Responsibility sharpens judgment, steadies emotion, and frees the mind from endless conflict. A man who says, "I deserve more," often believes the world has failed him. These words are born from expectation, not effort. They arise when desire grows faster than discipline. Instead of asking what he has earned, he measures life against what he wants. This gap between desire and reality becomes the source of his anger. Stoic wisdom teaches that the world does not operate on personal reward systems. Nature gives and takes without apology. Rain falls on good and bad alike. When a man believes he is owed comfort, success, or praise, he prepares his mind for disappointment. Expectation turns normal hardship into personal insult. The sense of entitlement weakens character because it removes patience. A man who feels owed something becomes restless. He believes waiting is unfair and effort should be rewarded immediately. When results do not appear, frustration replaces gratitude. He begins to see himself as a victim of circumstance rather than a participant in his own life. This mindset also blinds him to his own flaws. Entitlement focuses the eyes outward, never inward. It compares constantly, measuring his life against others while ignoring unseen effort and sacrifice. Comparison feeds resentment. Resentment clouds judgment. A clouded mind cannot make wise decisions. The Stoic does not ask what he deserves. He asks what the moment requires. He understands that comfort is not a right but a result, and sometimes not even that. Many things lie outside personal control: outcomes, opinions, timing. Attaching self-worth to these things creates instability. When they vanish, peace vanishes with them. Entitlement also creates weakness in adversity. When hardship arrives, the entitled mind resists it. It complains, "This shouldn't be happening to me." This resistance multiplies suffering. Pain is doubled by refusal to accept reality. The Stoic accepts first, then acts. Acceptance is not surrender, it is clarity. A man who feels owed often neglects gratitude. He overlooks what he already has because his focus is fixed on what is missing. This creates a constant state of lack. No achievement satisfies him for long. Each gain becomes the new minimum. The mind is never at rest. Discipline dissolves entitlement. When a man commits to daily effort without demanding immediate reward, he trains patience. He learns to value process over outcome. This shift brings quiet strength. Even when results are slow or unseen, his peace remains untouched. The Stoic understands that life is not a negotiation. Complaints do not change its terms. Only action does. By letting go of the belief that he deserves more, a man frees himself from bitterness. He stops arguing with reality and begins working with it. Entitlement makes a man fragile. Reality constantly disappoints him. Humility makes him resilient. Reality becomes a teacher instead of an enemy. The humble mind adapts, learns, and grows stronger under pressure. When expectations are removed, effort becomes cleaner. A man works because it is right, not because he is promised reward. This creates inner stability. He is no longer shaken by delays or denial. His satisfaction comes from character, not applause. The Stoic path replaces entitlement with self-mastery. It teaches that nothing external is guaranteed, but virtue is always available. A man may lose wealth, status, or comfort, but he never loses the ability to act with discipline, patience, and reason. A man who says, "I'll be happy when," places his peace in the future. These words sound harmless, but they quietly steal the present. Happiness becomes a moving target, always one step ahead, always delayed. The mind learns to postpone contentment, believing it must first earn the right to be calm. Stoic wisdom warns against this habit, because the future is uncertain. Plans change, goals shift, and outcomes escape control. When happiness is tied to future conditions, peace becomes fragile. It depends on events that may never arrive. Each delay strengthens frustration and weakens gratitude. This way of thinking also creates blindness to the present moment. The man is physically here, but mentally elsewhere. He rushes through days as if they are obstacles instead of life itself. He treats today as a sacrifice for tomorrow, forgetting that tomorrow is built from many neglected todays. The promise of future happiness often justifies suffering now. A man endures stress, anger, and exhaustion while telling himself it will be worth it later. But when later arrives, a new condition appears. The mind says, "Not yet." This cycle repeats until years pass without true peace. The Stoic understands that happiness is not a reward handed out at the finish line. It is a byproduct of right living. It comes from acting with reason, restraint, and purpose in the present. Waiting for circumstances to change before allowing peace is surrendering control of the mind. When happiness is delayed, the mind becomes anxious. It constantly scans for signs of progress or failure. Small setbacks feel heavy, because they threaten the imagined future. The man becomes emotionally dependent on outcomes rather than anchored in character. This habit also feeds discontent. Even success loses its value because it is never enough. The moment a goal is reached, the mind creates another condition. Satisfaction is brief, if it appears at all. The chase continues, but fulfillment remains distant. Stoicism teaches that the only time we truly possess is now. The present moment is where action happens, where virtue is practiced, where discipline is tested. To ignore it is to ignore life itself. Peace grows when attention returns to what is in front of us. A man who learns to be steady now becomes resilient later. He does not need perfect conditions to be calm. He finds order in effort, meaning in struggle, and stability in routine. His happiness is not loud or dramatic, but it is reliable. Delaying happiness also weakens appreciation. When the mind is fixed on the future, simple things lose value. Meals are rushed. Conversations are half heard. Rest is interrupted by worry. Life becomes a checklist instead of an experience. The Stoic does not reject goals or ambition. He simply refuses to attach his peace to them. He works toward improvement with focus, but he remains grounded. Success does not inflate him. Failure does not break him. His emotional state is not negotiated by outcomes. When a man stops saying, "I'll be happy when," he regains ownership of his mind. He no longer waits for permission to be calm. He understands that contentment is not found in arrival, but in alignment with reason and values. The present becomes enough, not because it is perfect, but because it is real. Attention sharpens. Effort becomes intentional. Life feels fuller, not because circumstances changed, but because resistance to now has ended. A man who says, "Everyone must respect me," reveals an unstable mind. These words rise from insecurity, not strength. The need to demand respect shows dependence on external approval. When a man's worth depends on how others treat him, his peace is never safe. Stoic wisdom teaches that respect from others is outside personal control. Opinions shift, moods change, and people judge through their own fears and desires. To build inner stability on such uncertain ground is to invite constant frustration. The wise man focuses instead on what cannot be taken from him: his character. Demanding respect often hides fear of being ignored or diminished. Instead of building value through action, the foolish mind seeks validation through pressure. It tries to force an outcome rather than earn it. This creates tension and resistance. People rarely respect those who ask loudly for it. True respect grows quietly. It follows consistency, discipline, and self-control. A man who keeps his word, governs his emotions, and acts with fairness earns trust without asking. His presence speaks before his mouth does. Stoicism values this silent authority. When respect is demanded, anger is close behind. Any sign of disagreement feels like insult. The man becomes defensive, easily offended, always watching for threats to his ego. This constant vigilance drains the mind and clouds judgment. A calm man does not need to guard his pride. The Stoic separates self-worth from social response. He understands that being ignored or criticized does not diminish his value. He does not chase approval or fear disapproval. This detachment gives him freedom. He can act according to reason rather than reaction. Demanding respect also damages relationships. It creates hierarchy instead of connection. Others feel controlled rather than understood. Respect born from fear or pressure is shallow and temporary. Once the pressure is gone, so is the respect. A man who commands himself never needs to command others. Self-mastery is the foundation of all influence. When emotions are steady and actions are deliberate, people naturally respond with regard. This response cannot be forced, only invited through example. The Stoic knows that disrespect from others is often a test. It reveals whether the mind is ruled by ego or by reason. If anger rises immediately, the work is not finished. If calm remains, strength has been developed. Respecting others is also part of earning respect. A man who listens, who speaks with restraint, who treats others fairly regardless of status, builds moral authority. He does not seek superiority. He seeks integrity. The demand for respect often masks a deeper issue: lack of self-respect. When a man does not live according to his values, he looks outward to fill the gap. External praise becomes a substitute for internal alignment. But praise fades, and the emptiness returns. Stoicism teaches that self-respect comes from living rightly. Each disciplined action strengthens it. Each honest decision reinforces it. Over time, this inner foundation becomes unshakable. The man no longer needs others to confirm his worth. When respect is no longer demanded, interactions become lighter. The man is not offended by small slights. He does not need to prove himself. He stands firmly without stiffness, confidently without noise. The world may offer respect or withhold it. Both are acceptable. What matters is that the man remains unchanged, guided by reason, anchored in character, untouched by praise or insult. A man who says, "I know everything," closes the door to wisdom. These words do not come from knowledge, but from fear of being seen as incomplete. The need to appear certain at all times reveals an untrained mind. True understanding carries humility, not arrogance. Stoic wisdom values awareness of limits. Nature vast, complex, and always changing. No single mind can fully grasp it. When a man believes he has nothing left to learn, he stops observing. When observation ends, growth ends. This belief creates rigidity. The mind becomes fixed, unwilling to adjust when new information appears. Instead of learning, the man defends his position. He argues not to find truth, but to protect his image. Reason is replaced by pride. A man who claims complete knowledge often listens poorly. He hears words, but he does not receive them. His thoughts are already formed before others speak. This habit isolates him. People stop offering insight, knowing it will be dismissed. Stoicism teaches that wisdom begins with understanding one's ignorance. This is not weakness. It is clarity. A man who knows what he does not know is open, alert, and adaptable. He is prepared for reality instead of surprised by it. Certainty also feeds impatience. When a man believes he already understands, he becomes irritated by questions or disagreement. This irritation disrupts calm. The Stoic seeks tranquility through reason, not dominance. The belief of knowing everything also prevents self-examination. If the mind is convinced of its own correctness, it sees no need to reflect. Mistakes are denied or blamed elsewhere. Without reflection, character stagnates. Life itself is a teacher. Every challenge carries a lesson. Every failure offers insight. The man who thinks he knows everything misses these lessons. He repeats the same errors, unaware that the problem lies within his thinking. Humility sharpens perception. When the mind accepts it may be wrong, it pays closer attention. It tests assumptions. It remains flexible. This flexibility is strength, not weakness. Stoicism does not encourage doubt for its own sake. It encourages reasoned confidence balanced by openness. A Stoic speaks with care, aware that words shape belief. He does not announce certainty unless it is earned through evidence and experience. The illusion of complete knowledge also increases emotional reactions. When reality contradicts belief, frustration arises. The man feels attacked by facts. The Stoic, by contrast, welcomes correction. Correction refines understanding. A mind open to learning remains calm under challenge. It does not cling to outdated ideas. It adapts without resistance. This adaptability allows the Stoic to remain aligned with nature rather than fighting it. Saying, "I know everything," also discourages effort. Why study, train, or reflect if the destination is already reached? This false arrival halts progress. The Stoic sees life as continuous practice, never finished. True wisdom is quiet. It does not announce itself. It asks questions. It listens deeply. It changes when change is required. This humility allows the mind to remain clear and grounded. The man who accepts that he does not know everything gains freedom. He is no longer trapped by his own opinions. He moves through life with curiosity instead of defense. His confidence rests not in being right, but in being willing to learn. A man who says, "This is too hard," speaks from resistance, not reality. Difficulty is a natural part of life, not an error in its design. These words appear when effort meets discomfort and the mind seeks escape. Instead of seeing challenge as training, the foolish mind labels it as unfair. Stoic wisdom teaches that hardship is neither good nor bad on its own. It is simply a condition. What gives it meaning is the response. When a man complains about difficulty, he adds a second burden to the first. The task remains, but now the mind is unsettled. Saying something is too hard often hides fear of failure. Rather than risk struggle or embarrassment, the mind chooses surrender. This moment feels safe, but it quietly erodes confidence. Each retreat makes the next challenge appear larger. The Stoic does not expect ease. He expects resistance. When resistance appears, he is not surprised. He adjusts his effort instead of questioning reality. This acceptance conserves energy and sharpens focus. Difficulty also exposes character. Easy conditions reveal little. Hard conditions reveal habits, patience, and discipline. When a man avoids difficulty, he avoids self-knowledge. He remains unfamiliar with his own strength. Complaining about hardship creates weakness in language. Words shape thought. When a man repeats that something is too hard, the mind begins to believe it. Belief then limits action. The Stoic guards his speech carefully, knowing it influences endurance. Hardship is also temporary, but quitting often has lasting effects. The memory of giving up lingers. It shapes future decisions. A man becomes quicker to retreat, slower to commit. The Stoic understands that enduring discomfort strengthens the will. Stoicism teaches voluntary discomfort as training. By choosing controlled difficulty, the mind becomes familiar with struggle. Cold, hunger, fatigue, and restraint become teachers rather than threats. When real hardship arrives, it feels less overwhelming. The phrase, "this is too hard," shifts focus away from effort and toward emotion. Emotion seeks comfort. Reason seeks progress. The Stoic listens to reason, even when emotion protests. Difficulty often means growth is near. Muscles strain before they strengthen. The mind works hardest before it sharpens. Avoiding this stage delays improvement. The Stoic accepts strain as part of development. When a man accepts difficulty, he becomes resilient. He stops measuring tasks by comfort and starts measuring them by necessity. What must be done gets done, regardless of mood. This discipline creates reliability. Hardship also teaches humility. It reminds the mind that control is limited. Not everything bends easily. This understanding tempers arrogance and builds patience. The Stoic moves steadily, not forcefully. By reframing difficulty as training, the Stoic removes fear. The challenge becomes an opportunity to practice virtue. Courage, patience, and endurance are strengthened only through resistance. When difficulty is faced calmly, it often becomes simpler. The mind stops exaggerating. Steps become clear. Effort becomes focused. What once seemed impossible becomes manageable. The man who stops saying, "This is too hard," and begins saying, "This is required," changes his relationship with struggle. He no longer waits for comfort. He moves forward with purpose. Hardship does not ask permission. It arrives regardless of readiness. The Stoic prepares in advance by building a mind that does not flee from effort. This preparation turns difficulty into a familiar path rather than a shock. A man who says, "This is too hard," speaks from resistance, not reality. Difficulty is a natural part of life, not an error in its design. These words appear when effort meets discomfort and the mind seeks escape. Instead of seeing challenge as training, the foolish mind labels it as unfair. Stoic wisdom teaches that hardship is neither good nor bad on its own. It is simply a condition. What gives it meaning is the response. When a man complains about difficulty, he adds a second burden to the first. The task remains, but now the mind is unsettled. Saying something is too hard often hides fear of failure. Rather than risk struggle or embarrassment, the mind chooses surrender. This moment feels safe, but it quietly erodes confidence. Each retreat makes the next challenge appear larger. The Stoic does not expect ease. He expects resistance. When resistance appears, he is not surprised. He adjusts his effort instead of questioning reality. This acceptance conserves energy and sharpens focus. Difficulty also exposes character. Easy conditions reveal little. Hard conditions reveal habits, patience, and discipline. When a man avoids difficulty, he avoids self-knowledge. He remains unfamiliar with his own strength. Complaining about hardship creates weakness in language. Words shape thought. When a man repeats that something is too hard, the mind begins to believe it. Belief then limits action. The Stoic guards his speech carefully, knowing it influences endurance. Hardship is also temporary, but quitting often has lasting effects. The memory of giving up lingers. It shapes future decisions. A man becomes quicker to retreat, slower to commit. The Stoic understands that enduring discomfort strengthens the will. Stoicism teaches voluntary discomfort as training. By choosing controlled difficulty, the mind becomes familiar with struggle. Cold hunger, fatigue, and restraint become teachers rather than threats. When real hardship arrives, it feels less overwhelming. The phrase, "This is too hard," shifts focus away from effort and toward emotion. Emotion seeks comfort. Reason seeks progress. The Stoic listens to reason, even when emotion protests. Difficulty often means growth is near. Muscles strain before they strengthen. The mind works hardest before it sharpens. Avoiding this stage delays improvement. The Stoic accepts strain as part of development. When a man accepts difficulty, he becomes resilient. He stops measuring tasks by comfort and starts measuring them by necessity. What must be done gets done regardless of mood. This discipline creates reliability. Hardship also teaches humility. It reminds the mind that control is limited. Not everything bends easily. This understanding tempers arrogance and builds patience. The Stoic moves steadily, not forcefully. By reframing difficulty as training, the Stoic removes fear. The challenge becomes an opportunity to practice virtue. Courage, patience, and endurance are strengthened only through resistance. When difficulty is faced calmly, it often becomes simpler. The mind stops exaggerating. Steps become clear. Effort becomes focused. What once seemed impossible becomes manageable. The man who stops saying, "This is too hard," and begins saying, "This is required," changes his relationship with struggle. He no longer waits for comfort. He moves forward with purpose. Hardship does not ask permission. It arrives regardless of readiness. The Stoic prepares in advance by building a mind that does not flee from effort. This preparation turns difficulty into a familiar path, rather than a shock. A man who says, "Life is unfair," is arguing with reality. These words come from comparing life to an imagined standard that does not exist. Nature does not promise balance, reward, or comfort. It only promises change. When a man expects fairness from the world, disappointment is certain. Stoic wisdom teaches acceptance of what is. Fairness is a human idea, not a law of nature. Storms do not choose where they strike. Illness does not ask permission. Fortune moves without reason. Resisting this truth creates suffering that cannot be avoided through complaint. When a man repeats that life is unfair, he places himself in opposition to reality. This creates anger and helplessness. The mind becomes focused on what should have been instead of what is. Energy is wasted on resentment rather than adaptation. This belief also feeds envy. The man looks at others and measures his losses against their gains. He does not see the full picture, only fragments. Comparison becomes a habit, and peace disappears. The Stoic avoids this trap by focusing on his own actions. Complaining about unfairness removes responsibility. If the world is unjust, effort feels pointless. This belief weakens discipline. The Stoic understands that effort matters regardless of outcome. Action is valuable even when results are uncertain. Life's lack of fairness is not a flaw. It is a condition. Learning to operate within this condition builds strength. The Stoic adapts instead of protesting. He works with what is available rather than wishing for different circumstances. Unfairness often reveals character. When things go well, virtue is easy. When things go poorly, virtue is tested. The Stoic uses hardship as a chance to practice patience, courage, and self-control. Believing life should be fair also increases emotional volatility. Every setback feels personal. Every obstacle feels like an attack. The Stoic detaches emotion from events. He responds thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally. The world does not owe explanations. Many events have no clear reason. Searching for meaning in every loss creates frustration. The Stoic accepts uncertainty without bitterness. When a man stops saying life is unfair, he regains clarity. He no longer argues with the past or resents the present. His focus shifts to what can be done now. This shift restores agency. Fairness is irrelevant to virtue. A man can act rightly in any condition. His choices remain his own, even when circumstances are harsh. This understanding gives the Stoic freedom. Those who accept reality move forward faster. They do not pause to complain. They adjust, rebuild, and continue. Resilience grows through acceptance. Life may take without warning. It may reward without reason. The Stoic does not depend on either. He builds inner order regardless of outer chaos. When fairness is removed from expectation, gratitude becomes possible. Even small things are appreciated because they are no longer assumed. This appreciation stabilizes the mind. The Stoic does not deny pain. He simply refuses to add anger to it. Pain passes more quickly when not resisted. By letting go of the demand for fairness, a man aligns with nature. He stops fighting what cannot be changed and focuses on what can be shaped. Reality becomes a partner rather than an enemy. Action becomes purposeful rather than reactive. The mind remains steady even when outcomes are harsh. A man who speaks without control or purpose reveals a restless mind. Words flow before thought, driven by impulse rather than reason. This habit seems small, but it slowly weakens character. Speech is not neutral. It shapes the mind and influences the world around it. Stoic wisdom values restraint in speech. Silence is not emptiness. It is space for judgment. When a man fills every moment with words, he leaves no room for reflection. He reacts instead of responding. Speaking without purpose often comes from a desire to be noticed. The mind seeks validation through noise. This dependence on attention creates instability. When attention fades, dissatisfaction appears. The Stoic frees himself from this cycle by choosing silence when words add no value. Uncontrolled speech also invites regret. Words once spoken cannot be taken back. They linger in memory, damage trust, and create conflict. The Stoic understands that careful speech protects peace, both his own and that of others. Many speak to release emotion rather than to communicate truth. Anger, excitement, and fear spill into language. This may feel relieving in the moment, but it spreads unrest. The Stoic trains himself to pause. He allows emotion to settle before allowing speech. Talking too much weakens listening. When the mind is busy preparing its next statement, it misses what is being said. True understanding requires attention. The Stoic listens fully, knowing that wisdom often comes quietly. Speech without purpose also exposes the speaker to manipulation. Careless words reveal intentions, fears, and weaknesses. The Stoic protects his inner world by guarding his mouth. He speaks plainly, not excessively. Excessive talk often disguises uncertainty. Instead of admitting ignorance, the man fills space with opinions. This creates confusion rather than clarity. The Stoic prefers honest silence to empty speech. Words shape identity. Repeated complaints, boasts, or gossip reinforce those traits in the mind. Over time, the man becomes what he says. The Stoic chooses words that reflect discipline and reason. Speaking less increases weight. When words are rare, they are valued. People listen. Authority grows naturally. The Stoic does not seek to dominate conversations. His presence alone communicates steadiness. Purposeful speech requires intention. Before speaking, the Stoic asks whether the words are true, necessary, and timely. If they fail this test, silence is chosen. This habit strengthens judgment. Uncontrolled speech also fuels conflict. Arguments escalate when words are thrown without care. The Stoic de-escalates by refusing to add fuel. Calm words or silence often end disputes faster than force. By mastering speech, a man masters impulse. This discipline extends into action. The same restraint used in speech appears in behavior. The mind becomes orderly. Silence allows observation. Observation allows understanding. Understanding allows wise action. The Stoic values this chain. A man who controls his tongue controls his direction. He is not pulled by emotion or ego. He moves deliberately. Purposeful speech aligns with inner values. It reflects clarity of thought. Each word serves a function. When speech is governed by reason, the mind becomes quieter. Peace grows. The Stoic does not fear silence. He uses it as a tool. Through restraint in speech, the Stoic builds respect, trust, and inner calm. Words become instruments of order rather than sources of chaos.